In the aftermath of the devastating nuclear attack on New York City, the entire world comes to a standstill. The global community is shaken to its core as the reality of the destructive power of nuclear warfare sinks in. A veil of shock, disbelief, and heartache falls upon the masses as this unprecedented act of violence changes the course of history forever. People from every corner of the globe are united in their shock and grief as they try to make sense of the unimaginable devastation that has unfolded before their eyes. The attack on New York City not only signifies the loss of countless lives, but also serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in the modern world. Leaders from various nations express their condolences and support for the United States, while also grappling with the implications of this horrific event for their own countries and the world at large. As fear and uncertainty grip the hearts of millions, the question of how to respond to this unprecedented act of aggression becomes a matter of critical importance. Nations must now weigh the consequences of escalating the conflict further, or seeking a path towards diplomacy and peace. The delicate balance between retaliation and restraint will play a crucial role in determining the future of global relations. With the specter of nuclear war looming large, the world finds itself at a crossroads. As the world braces itself for the next steps in this ever-evolving crisis, the stakes have never been higher, and the need for global unity and cooperation is paramount. Want to see more? You can now binge-watch all episodes of our series on our website. Get started today and explore the potential of the next world war. As the world grapples with the aftermath of the nuclear attack on New York City and the escalating global military conflict, the United States federal government makes a momentous decision. In a bid to protect its citizens and maintain national security, all U.S. air traffic and travel are suspended until further notice. Furthermore, the northeastern U.S. airspace is closed indefinitely. This unprecedented measure severely disrupts the lives of millions of Americans, as both domestic and international flights are grounded. The transportation industry, already reeling from the shock of the attack on New York City, now faces an uncertain future, as businesses and individuals alike scramble to adapt to this new reality. The closure of the northeastern U.S. airspace, in particular, poses significant challenges for the entire country. This vital region serves as a hub for commerce, finance, and culture, and its sudden isolation from the rest of the nation exacerbates the already mounting economic and social turmoil. As the United States grapples with these sweeping changes, the federal government attempts to reassure the public that these measures are necessary to ensure national security. However, citizens across the nation cannot help but feel a growing sense of unease as the crisis deepens and the future remains uncertain. With the suspension of air travel and the closure of airspace, the United States finds itself more isolated than ever before. The once bustling skies are now eerily empty, serving as a stark reminder of the escalating conflict and the challenges that lie ahead. As Americans adapt to this new way of life, questions arise about how long these drastic measures will be in place and what the long-term consequences of this isolation will be. With no end in sight to the global military conflict, the nation must come to terms with the difficult reality that the world as they knew it may never be the same again. As the United States struggles to adapt to the new reality of suspended air travel and closed airspace, another chilling development emerges. Due to the lack of military coverage, U.S. military intelligence and satellite surveillance detect a massive fleet of Chinese military naval ships moving towards California, the west coast of the United States mainland territory. The situation is dire. With the bulk of the U.S. military forces engaged in conflicts across Europe and Asia, the west coast is left with minimal defenses, vulnerable to a potential invasion. The government scrambles to mobilize additional resources and troops to prepare for this new threat, coordinating with state and local authorities to ensure maximum preparedness. As news of the approaching Chinese naval fleet spreads, panic grips the West Coast. People begin to evacuate major cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego, fearing the worst. Highways are clogged with traffic, and tensions rise as the situation becomes increasingly desperate. Local emergency services and the National Guard work tirelessly to maintain order and assist in the evacuation efforts. On the other side of the country, the East Coast reels from the aftermath of the attack on New York City. With the nation's focus divided between these two crises, the United States finds itself stretched thin, struggling to maintain control and coordinate its response effectively. The government is forced to make difficult decisions about resource allocation, prioritizing some areas over others in an attempt to address multiple threats simultaneously. The U.S. military does its best to reinforce the West Coast defenses in anticipation of the Chinese fleet's arrival. Naval vessels are redeployed from other regions, while the Air Force redirects its remaining operational aircraft to provide aerial support. Despite these efforts, the American military faces an uphill battle against the well-equipped and numerically superior Chinese forces. Military strategists work around the clock to devise a plan to counter the impending invasion. In a show of international solidarity, several allied countries pledge their support to the United States. They send naval and air forces to bolster the West Coast defenses, reinforcing the message that an attack on one is an attack on all. This display of unity sends a powerful message to the Chinese government, warning them that their actions will not go unanswered. As the Chinese naval fleet draws ever closer to California, the world holds its breath. The impending confrontation between the United States and China could have profound and far-reaching consequences, not just for the two nations involved, but for the entire global community. It becomes clear that the outcome of this battle may well shape the course of history and the fate of countless lives. People around the world follow the news closely, praying for a peaceful resolution to the crisis. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay informed about the latest World War III worst-case scenario episodes. Thank you for watching. To stay up to date with our latest releases, all you've got to do is follow us across our various social media platforms. We're talking Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, we're there. Thank you for watching our channel. There's a whole lot more where that came from. Interested in binge-watching all episodes today? Head over to our website to access our entire media library using the URL link in the description. Ready to test your World War II knowledge? What was the name of the aircraft that dropped the second bomb over Nagasaki? Provide your answer or response in the YouTube comment box below. Stay tuned for the right answer. The answer is Boxcar. The United States military, already stretched thin due to ongoing conflicts around the globe, now faces a terrifying new challenge. U.S. intelligence identifies a critical vulnerability in the nation's defense forces, raising the very real possibility of a ground military invasion by Chinese forces on California's western coastline. As the Chinese naval fleet edges closer, military strategists and defense experts scramble to devise a plan to strengthen the nation's coastal defenses. Recognizing the need for immediate action, the U.S. government reaches out to its allies, requesting urgent assistance to bolster their military presence along the vulnerable West Coast. In response to the imminent threat, the United States initiates a massive mobilization effort, recalling reservists and deploying National Guard units to the West Coast. Citizens are urged to remain vigilant and to prepare for possible evacuation orders in case the situation escalates further. Aware that the stakes are higher than ever, the United States government makes a series of frantic diplomatic efforts to avert a full-scale invasion. They reach out to China directly, urging them to reconsider their actions and to come to the negotiating table to resolve their differences peacefully. However, despite these efforts, the situation remains incredibly tense. Rumors and speculations swirl about the Chinese military's intentions, fueling fear and uncertainty among the American public. As the crisis unfolds, the U.S. military continues to prepare for the worst-case scenario. They establish fortified positions along the coastline, placing artillery and air defense systems to protect key infrastructure and population centers. Special forces teams are deployed to carry out reconnaissance and sabotage missions behind enemy lines, seeking to disrupt the Chinese military's plans and capabilities. As the world watches in apprehension, the United States and its allies brace themselves for the possibility of a ground invasion by the Chinese military. With the fate of the nation hanging in the balance, it becomes clear that the outcome of this confrontation will have far-reaching consequences, not just for the countries involved, but for the entire global community. In an unexpected and alarming turn of events, Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia suddenly lose all communication links with the United States and NATO allies. The blackout sends shockwaves through the global community, raising fears of a coordinated cyber attack or even the possibility of an unprecedented worldwide conflict. Military and intelligence agencies work around the clock to identify the source of the disruption, deploying resources to counter any possible threats and protect vital infrastructure. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, the governments of Israel, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia take emergency measures to maintain internal stability and secure their borders. With tensions already heightened due to the ongoing global conflicts, these nations are forced to navigate the uncertain situation while cut off from their allies, increasing the risk of miscalculation or miscommunication that could trigger further hostilities. As the hours tick by, the United States and NATO begin to make limited progress in re-establishing communications with their Middle Eastern partners. However, the situation remains precarious, as the full scope of the communications blackout and the potential consequences of such an event remain unclear. The world holds its collective breath as it waits for further developments. With the potential for conflict and chaos lurking just beneath the surface, it becomes increasingly clear that the entire international community must come together to address the escalating crises and work towards a peaceful resolution. As the communication blackout continues to plague Israel, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia, U.S. military intelligence finally uncovers a chilling revelation. A major cyber attack has been carried out against their Middle Eastern allies. The United States government and military command face their worst fears as they scramble to contain the fallout from this devastating cyber attack. With tensions already at an all-time high, the potential for further escalation of global conflict is now dangerously close to becoming a reality. In a race against time, the United States and NATO work feverishly to restore communications and strengthen their allies' cyber defenses. Who is responsible for this attack, and what could be their endgame? As the world watches with bated breath, the stakes have never been higher. The fate of global peace and security now hangs in the balance, teetering on the edge of catastrophe. Want to see more? You can now binge-watch all episodes of our series on our website. Get started today and explore the potential of the next world war. Arm yourself with the power of advanced AI for video creation, high-quality copy generation, a diverse range of freelance services, top-notch hosting options, and the ultimate online privacy protection. Don't miss out on exclusive discounts and promotions. Sign up today by clicking on the links in the description. Your journey towards creating compelling content starts now.